Good morning, everyone. As we approach the holiday of Passover on Wednesday night, we think about Moshe Rabbeinu, the lead actor in the story of the Exodus. And everyone's familiar with the Hollywood movie Prince of Egypt. Moses was raised as a prince in the palace of Pharaoh, having been adopted by the daughter of Pharaoh who rescued him from the Nile. And the question is why is it, or how is it, that the Redeemer of Israel, the one who liberated the Jewish people from slavery through God's intervention, was a Jewish boy who was not raised amongst his brethren? Moses did not grow up in the Jewish community. Moses did not go to Jewish day school. Moses did not go to synagogue with his father on Saturday. Moses did not go to Jewish summer camps. He was raised as an Egyptian. Was that a coincidence, or was that by design? And one of the beautiful answers is that the reason why Moses was able to stand up for the plight of his brethren, the reason why Moses was able to step out of the palace and see an Egyptian beating a Jew and strike down the Egyptian who was beating the Jew, was because Moses was raised in the palace. You see, had Moses been raised in the Jewish community, in the slave community, with the ghettoization mentality of being inferior, he would have been stuck in that mental mindset of slavery, and he would not have the courage and the aspiration to demand the freedom of the Jewish people, of his fellow brothers and sisters. It was only because he was raised in freedom that he had the mindset of a free person, and therefore was able to accomplish what he accomplished. And therefore Moses had to be raised outside of the Jewish community to be able to be the one to see the plight of the Jews and redeem them. Very often what holds us back in life, what imprisons us, what confines us, what restricts us, is not anything external, but actually something internal, our very own mindset and perspective. We create shackles within our mind to believe that we are not capable of achieving something better. We become accepting and tolerant of a status quo that we know is not good, but we throw up our hands and say, well, what can I do? And therefore the first message of the story of Egypt is that, like Moses, you have to maintain a free spirit, a free mind, and believe in your right to live a fully free, expressive life, and not to be confined and not to be obligated to any other force, any evil tyrant, any other oppressor, but to demand and stand up for yourself and your own freedom. There are two studies I want to show you. The first one is when you would go to the circus, you would see these big elephants who weigh many, many tons. And what keeps them in place? There's a rope tied to their leg, which is tied to a peg, and the peg is nailed into the ground, and this is what keeps the elephants. And the question is, these elephants weigh many tons. How is it that this little rope with a peg can restrict their movement? And the answer is that when these elephants are born as baby elephants, they tie a rope around their leg and attach it to a peg, and they place it in the ground. And when the baby elephant tries to yank itself free, it cannot, because it's just a small baby elephant. And it pulls, and hundreds of times it tries, to no avail. And therefore, as the elephant grows larger and larger, it maintains the mindset that it cannot break free, and it stops attempting to go free. And therefore now, even though these elephants are large, very powerful, weighing many tons, because in their mind they believe they cannot go free, they've stopped trying, and therefore they remain limited by that little rope and peg. The second study that was done is when they took flies and put them in a jar, and they put a lid on the jar, and the flies were buzzing around, and when they tried to leave the jar, they hit their heads on the lid of the jar. And this went on for days and days. They had little holes for them to breathe. And then after months and months, they removed the lids from the jars. And guess what? These flies only flew to the height of where the lid originally was. And even though the lid had been removed and they could fly out and go free, they never attempted to go beyond the rim, because in their mind, once again, they believed that this was the greatest height they could achieve. Passover is a time to ask ourselves, What limiting beliefs and perspectives do I hold from my childhood, from my prior experiences, that are holding me back from achieving my full potential and living truly free? Have a wonderful day.